Hello and welcome to LedgerCast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard. I'm here, as always, with Josh Olswich. Hey, Josh.
Hey Brian, you sounded like you were about to hesitate there
With who is this person that I'm hanging out with today?
with the name,
Who is this guy?
What's funny is when you, I don't know, some people when you hang out with them, you call them by their last name,
Yeah, I get that a
And,
lot. A lot of friends just call me some variation of Krogsgaard or insulting term derivative of that.
I personally never got any of that.
Your
my
name
last
is
name.
your name is just too difficult
Yeah.
for all us laymen's out there.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good. It's raining. I'm hunkered down.
Hunkered.
We've got another month of quarantine here, I think, at least.
Not here in Alabama, baby. We are open for business.
Right.
It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if we've got higher cases. We are back at it. It doesn't matter that the day the governor was making these announcements of opening up more fully that we hit like 600 cases in a day, whereas our prior highs were like 400 cases in a day. Alabama says, screw it. Screw the old people. Screw the sick people. Screw anyone that is a victim of all of this and doesn't want to deal with it. We're just going back to work.
Well, the reality is, like, people need to have an income, and I'm one of these people who's, fortunate enough that I can work from home like you, but a lot of these people can't. So
Yeah. No, I
somebody's got to
don't.
give.
Yeah, I don't fault them. I just I feel like we need to take extreme precautions if we're going to do it. You know what? This is a freaking crypto podcast, though. But nevertheless, people in Alabama are back to work, and as is my family. I mean, we're not. I guess we're a part of the problem, if you will, if the problem is being out and about. But we're trying to be cautious, having sent our kids back to limited openness, limited. I don't know, capacity, daycare, and all that stuff.
The best case scenario is everybody young gets it, is asymptomatic, and then we have herd immunity. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I know we're going to talk some legacy stuff today, but it seems like despite whatever the last 4 months have caused to the economy, the stock market's right back to basically where the highs were, at least on the NASDAQ. And the crypto markets look strong. Everything pretty much looks good, like there was nothing going on. There was nothing to worry about. There's no big deal. We're all good. We're back to normal, right? I mean, SPY, oh my goodness. 295. Oh, I'm looking at the 4 hour. I was sitting here thinking I was looking at it coiling up below the 200 day. Well, it is coiling below the 200 day, but it's also the 200 on the 4 hour chart. I mean, it just looks like it's ready to pop up another level. If like it bounced off the 0.618 and it's going to test 300, maybe it won't be there for long. I don't know. I'm actually short the market right now, so I might need to rethink that.
Well, the thing is, a lot of these companies on the NASDAQ are doing better during the pandemic than they were pre, right?
Some. I don't know about a lot. I don't know if that's the standard case. Now, the Qs are almost to an all-time high. SPY is about at the 0.618 retrace still, really where it was last week, because in the last week since we talked, it had a dip down and basically full recovery from that. So there's a little way. We're back to like our majority of 2019 levels, but we haven't. The SPY busted up at the end of 2019 and spent until February just on this steady moon mission.
Sure.
But either way, it looks. I mean, you wouldn't look at this, and if you just saw the level, and you jump back to 2018, 2019, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is just normal economy stuff. You wouldn't think we're in an extreme recession technically.
But if you're on your deserted island just looking at the chart, you'd think everything's back to normal.
You think everything's back to normal. I mean, obviously you would see this V-shaped dip, but you would think like, oh, well, whatever that was is done for. And My thing is, I don't know if that frames with reality.
Sure. Can we dedicate this podcast to somebody? Ben, the actual advice AABTC passed away
Yeah, man, that was terrible news. Young
a few days
guy,
ago.
OG. I know you've hung out with him in person, right?
Yeah,
Um,
just really, really sad. Very
yeah,
generous guy, just super nice. Big reason why a lot of us are even on crypto Twitter, Telegram, IRC. He was just super early into all that stuff. So he'll definitely be missed for sure.
yeah. Feel terrible for his family and everything that they're going through and dealing with. It's awful. And a lot of people who were in crypto 2015, 2016, before that even, were really close to him. So I know that's been tough on a lot of people. So yeah, absolutely. Dedicate this one to actual advice, BTC. AKA Ben.
AKA Ben.
All right, Josh. So you've had this chart sitting on here with a big fat red cloud. What are we looking at?
So I've got a bunch of things that don't really jive together, but halving is over, so we can all get rid of that variable.
You've
Bitcoin
got
difficulty.
15 tabs pulled up here in front of me, and I feel like I'm about to go through Josh's chart school. So just take me in, draw me in.
So I don't have Bitcoin difficulty up, but it only dropped 6%. So that's a win as far as post halving is concerned. There was no like massive meltdown, no minor capitulation as of yet. Price pulled up pretty nicely, so that's good. So starting with legacy though, so this is silver on the monthly chart, and it looks a lot like Bitcoin did on the weekly chart in 2015, 2016, pre edge to edge move to whatever that was. 600. I don't remember the number, but
Yeah.
So silver looks good from an edge to edge perspective on the cloud. This is like into 2022 though.
Right.
With anything in legacy,
if you're looking for a multi-year trade, there's a 100% gain potential on silver if you are in between 15 and 17. Top of that cloud goes to 30.
Yeah, and this is just paper silver. So I've been told physical silver is actually in the 20s already.
Interesting.
So yeah, cloud looks good. It's white coffee and accumulation. You can box this off in a nice rectangle. Yeah, I mean, any higher highs would trigger the edge to edge, and it would fulfill white coffee and markup. So that looks good. So I think metals being bullish should be bullish for crypto, right? Do we agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Here's gold, this is a monthly cloud for gold, and it's already way above the monthly cloud.
Yeah.
Cloud hasn't flipped bullish yet on the monthly chart. So, this may pull back and then things will flip, but it's basically at all-time highs already. I didn't even know. I wasn't even really paying attention to it.
I've been paying attention to it. I've been looking for downside on gold already. I'm always early, so I just think
what's the macro position for that? Like the macro position is gold goes to infinity, right?
The macro position is buy the freaking dip for sure. So I mean, I probably should not have shorted, but I exited. I had gold miner positions that was a fairly significant percentage of retirement account, and I'd been playing the long side of gold and gold miners with active accounts through options, and now I'm moved mostly to cash and in the long-term accounts, and I'm short-term on the short side of gold miners because it looked like they were failing a breakout. And gold really looks like it needs to simmer to me. But I'm not really on the right side of my macro bias, which is always a trade that I want to be a little more careful with if I'm going to take it at all, which I probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, I was just trying to measure this. Okay, so the 1618 of if we call this inverted head and shoulders down here. And I'm showing all this stuff mainly because I'm going to show it again later on Stellar on Ethereum. But if we call this V thing an inverted head and shoulders, the measured move, the 1618, is here, and it's way past that.
Yeah.
The 2618 is at 1800. Basically all-time highs. Retest. So yeah, that's interesting. I don't know what to make of that. I don't see any divs. No, yeah, there's still that weekly div. We talked about this 2 or 3 weeks in a row now. The
Yeah.
weekly bear div on gold is even more stark now.
Yeah, just because I don't know if you have the RSI available to pop up or if that's a still image, but
Yeah, I'm looking at another chart on another screen, but
um,
you can
the
see it there now.
yeah, I imagine the RSI is not made a higher high, so it's the RSI is not following with the price right now. So there's
Yeah,
that divergence.
yeah. So I'm with you on the short potential for sure.
Yeah, you said it's at a yearly pivot. Which one is that?
R2.
Yeah, so I mean, all I'm asking for is like a move from R2 back to I don't know $1,600. I don't know what length of dip I'm seeking. I just don't want to be long silver right now.
Long gold, you mean?
Gold, well, or silver, but more so gold.
If anything, I'd rotate long. I'd rotate gold positions into silver now, but that's just me. Like I'm sure you can look at that ratio too, and that's got to be near all-time lows, right?
It was, and it made significant recoveries like this week because it had like silver had several like 3 or 4% up days this week. So some people are looking at that ratio and saying the silver trade is already done, like it's just perpetually crap relative to gold. Uh, if it makes a more macro, ratio breakout, then it's probably early in that trade. So it just kind of depends how you look at it.
Gotcha. And yeah, again, I think all this stuff's relevant because we're not in a vacuum with crypto, right? Everything's together. So if gold's bullish, Bitcoin has to be bullish, right?
Yeah, we got our big boy pants on now. We
Yeah.
we correlate with legacy markets. We correlate with metals. We adjust. It's like it correlates, kind of just picks its poison. Seems like week by week about what we're gonna care about and
Sure.
correlate with. Like the legacy market correlation cooled off quite a bit for the last couple weeks.
Yeah. And this is a 2-year MA multiplier for gold. Um, doesn't the numbers are relevant, but just know that it's curve fitted to the previous resistances. Is it's projecting almost a 2x, not a 2x, 2600, whatever that is.
Yeah,
Pretty
so
decent upside.
a multiplier. So it's basically almost like setting some outer boundaries for like a moving average channel from
Right.
whence you can move from, and it's showing when it dipped below that was kind of bear market type moves for gold, and then a couple fake outs back in the 80s and 90s. It's basically saying this could be the start of a long-term markup.
Yeah, this is again, it's a 2-day chart. It's the MAs are like 730, so
Yeah,
that's
they're long.
it's a big time frame.
But the big move from 2002 to 2012, like it was riding the top side of the channel the whole time, and now it's just in the center of the channel. And if it looks like if it breaks an all-time high, it's off to the races, like 2,500, 3,000, who knows what.
Yeah,
So
and
upside potential is still there, big time on gold. It's not. I don't
for
think it's
sure,
a trade that's played out.
I agree. Um, but had you heard of MA multipliers before a couple weeks ago?
I've seen
Because
something related to this, but no, I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen them with regards to like a true moving average like this.
I don't think I saw it until that look into bitcoins .com website.
Mm-hmm.
Little plug there. Just like the website, I'm not affiliated with it at all.
Look into bitcoins.
Yeah, .com, because it's got the Bitcoin one on there. So what I did this week is I did this last week actually. I did this massive article on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tezos, Link, Ripple, and Litecoin, just like looking at all these various metrics for a bull run. So those articles will be coming out on BNC over the past, or in the future. Sorry, in the next couple of days. Anyway, so yeah, I applied the MA multipliers and the pivots and all this other stuff to all the crypto stuff.
For what
It's
it's
pretty
worth,
interesting.
that's look into Bitcoin with no S.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Just was a
um,
completely different site on the other one.
yeah, so that's gold. So silver and gold bullish. Gold more so. Gold probably overextended. Looking at USDCNY, which is a peg, not a peg. It's a fixed rate. Fixed rate, is that the right term? It's decided by the PBOC.
Yeah,
Whatever.
peg.
Okay. So it keeps increasing. So they're devaluing the yuan, and typically that signals capital flight and crypto strength historically, right?
Yeah, and it looks like It looks like one of those things that it's a wedge that's not very wedgy, but it like a breakup wedge, like a coiling, an ascending coil that looks like it just wants to bust out a topside.
Well, it's interesting that even though that this is like a fixed value, it's still like
It still charts.
charting, you know? So yeah, that's interesting. It's
That's
something to pay
because
attention to.
charts rule all, Josh. Charts rule all.
I think so. Like if it breaks 720 and there's like trade war 2.0, 3.0, whatever, I think, again, bullish for crypto. This VIX trade we keep talking about, VIX continues to cool off, which is good. It's basically still way above historic highs.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
not
coming
it's
down.
not fully back in jail yet. It's basically retesting jail. I feel like below 25 is jail territory. You got that center line on there right now that's pretty clear in the long term. Um, I'm
So I
actually
suspect,
I'm kind of anticipating an increase in volatility, but that almost certainly requires the markets to crap the bed.
well, what I suspect is that if we do go to zero, crypto will consolidate and blast off
If
over the next,
if the VIX continues to go down, you mean?
yeah, over the next 1 to 2 months, because Q2 is almost over, right?
Yeah, I mean, if certainly if the legacy market like shrugs off further downward volatility, then all of the potential like inflation arguments and everything just compound because it's like, okay, how many trillions did we just print? And it wasn't even in a market that really was contracting as much as we thought. So there's not that offset between like new money that the central banks pumped into the market. So therefore, it's creating that inflationary cycle because the deflation or the contraction wasn't there. So
Yeah.
that would insinuate metals and Bitcoin having significant strength even in a market recovery.
Yeah. Then now that we got PTJ on our side, touting that narrative, not just some massive Bitcoin maximalist, right?
Yeah,
That's got to feel good for
everything's
people.
possible now. I'm not. I refuse to write out any option. Like I listened to a good episode of Macro Voices last night where they had a pretty interesting conversation about money and currencies, and they were talking about how well, like if fiat currencies, if they all are doing the same kind of bad behavior of what, like just not like sound monetary policy, if they let things get away from them, the guest, I'll have to look up his handle, but he was basically saying like it's really difficult without a complete collapse of the fiat monetary system for them all to go to crap. Essentially, one will moon because it'll be the best worst. Um, so if they all suck, one will still be a winner. And he was saying like the dollar could still win because everyone else is a bad behavior. Is doing bad behavior. It's Daniel Lassalle, Lacalle. Probably messed that up. French. Um, but yeah, it's a good conversation about that. And they also, I mean, they're essentially wiggling around it, but they're giving this argument for a potential return to a hard backed currency system, whether gold or something that gives something Bitcoin an avenue forward. Because if all those currencies suck, like the dollar may be the best, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will retain its purchasing power. So it was an interesting debate.
Which it hasn't historically over the past 100 years, right?
Yeah, and that's under relatively mundane currency management, not
Right.
whatever we've got going on now.
Activism, activist currency management.
Yeah.
Um, Here's Tether. Tether was above $1 ever since the drop on March 12th, and it just
Wait,
kept printing, printing, printing.
I'm not looking at Tether. I'm still
No,
looking at Bitcoin.
this one here.
That's Tether?
Oh, sorry. Well, this is Bitcoin, but Tether's up top.
Oh, I see. I see.
So this is Tether, and then this is Bitcoin. But the point is that when the printing stopped and when we flipped below $1, we got relatively more bearish. So that's just something to pay attention to in the future, I think.
So are we trying to figure out if maybe that Tether trend is a leading indicator?
I think the prints are definitely a leading indicator still, regardless of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
It just generally means demand, I think.
Yeah.
So, um, and I think even tether above a dollar just represents demand
Right.
in general, at least in the near term. So if we surge above a dollar again, I think the consolidation's over and it's moon time. It's just something to watch for.
Yeah, I can get down with that.
Um, because tether's below a dollar now, Coinbase is leading Bitfinex, which is this oscillator thing down here, which in general has been bullish.
Mm-hmm.
So something else to watch. Again, we talked about this a lot. Just cash leading tethers, generally bullish. Retail, FOMO type
Spot
stuff.
buying, retail.
Yeah. So it's something else I've been watching. None of this is like actionable on its own, just like futures premiums, which were
Just some narrative steroids.
yeah, I mean just stuff that's not it's not confluent at all. Like you look at this ETH ETH has been negative ever since like April 13th, basically, on the premium.
Yeah.
And it keeps going up. Like what is going on there? I can't even explain that.
I have no idea. I've been looking at Ethereum myself, and it's been interesting to me because uh, I basically got derped out of the position that I was interested in. I still kept my exposure to some other stuff, thankfully, but it looked like it was breaking down. You see this right here, and like it didn't technically make a new low, which should have been my tell, but it was breaking the 200 day. It was breaking my like pennant thing, and I don't know. It just kind of scared me out of it. So I essentially sold the low. Then it broke right back above, and now is showing significant Bitcoin relative strength with a break above both the 200 and the 20 day. So short and long term trends look like they flipped positive, and now it really looks like it's got upside, but up to like 0.025, the trade I originally talked about. So I might try to get back in on this if it retests back to 0.022 or so. But it's been interesting. Like every time we try to talk about, these large cap altcoins and we think like one thing is happening, they flip the script on you so quickly that by the next week, like you're basically screaming the opposite narrative. I just feel like they're a challenge to trade right now.
Yeah, that's why I don't trade the pair. I don't trade the BTC pairs.
Yeah.
You know, I
Well,
just trade the USD pair.
yeah, if you're trading the USD, if I'm trading the USD pair on margin and I have Bitcoin as collateral, I'm okay. But I've been only basically trading spot, so the BTC pair matters to me because I'd rather win in Bitcoin, you know?
Sure, but like I'd rather just win, Like I don't care what I don't care if it's fucking sorry. I don't care if it's shekels, right? Like if
Yeah.
I'm winning, I'm winning, right?
No,
Um,
that's fair. Completely fair. I just have this irrational mindset of like I want to beat what I could have had just doing nothing, like rather like holding Bitcoin. Or if we think in terms of the legacy market, something I've been thinking about is like I should be I feel like I should be grading myself against the market. So like how many shares of SPY could I own, you know, versus my active trading the market? Like what's my performance relative to the S&P? Because if I'm underperforming the S&P, which I'm unsure of whether I'm doing or not, I haven't really checked. But if I'm underperforming the S&P, then like I'm kind of wasting my time, right?
yeah, but you could always rotate any USD gains into crypto or SPY or whatever, which is what I do if I'm like on Kraken and I get the winnings in USD, right? So
Yeah.
you take your winnings and then you rotate it into crypto immediately.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
That's one way to do it. But I know that. I'm just saying, like that's
Yeah, I'm just thinking in general, especially holding spot and it's not margin trading, then I don't want to say like, oh well, I value my portfolio as X BTC and Y dollars. I want to increase both. Like
yeah, yeah.
there's times where I'm willing to take a dollar drawdown if it's within my broader narrative of bullish Bitcoin. Um, but I get a little salty if I'm like losing Bitcoin, even if I'm winning in some other trade. And it's just kind of I don't know, it's a sickness, a disease.
But what's that saying? Concentration makes wealth, and diversification preserves it.
Yeah, that's good. I haven't heard that.
I
Well,
thought that was you. I
I've
guess not.
no, it was. I do remember. We talked about this before. I can't remember who it came from, but that's probably some old Warren Buffett thing.
Could be, yeah. But that's, man, isn't that true for most of the people in crypto?
Oh yeah,
They're just like, it's true for me. I mean, sitting in BTC for what is it, 7 years now?
yeah,
Sitting in some altcoin for a lot of people.
yeah. Hyper concentrated bet, and ant shares moon, and you're
Right.
rich.
Or OMG, which just
Yeah,
moon
there's
today.
a current one. Omise Go, so it's out of Singapore, I think. Omise as a payment system, kind of Stripe esque. They came out with a token back in 2017, and it looked
But
as
they're not doing any of that stuff. It's all
that's.
just,
I'm just saying that's what they were like.
yeah. And I'm saying that use case is bogus. First of
Yeah, but
all, but
that's
go
my.
ahead.
I
I'll
know,
wait.
but I'm like, I don't know what the heck has happened to the last 3 years, but something convinced Coinbase to list it in 2020. I have no idea what the narrative is. I have no idea what the justification is. I have no idea which venture capital firm bought a bunch of cheap OMG and pulled some strings at
Exactly.
Coinbase.
Exactly.
Not that I'm insinuating. I'm just saying, it's
Of course
possible.
not. Of course not.
Meanwhile, Brian Armstrong, if you're giving up on the rest of media, we'll give you a fair shake here on the Ledgercast.
Yeah, I said, you probably saw my
I
tag. I
did. I
tagged
did.
you. I
I'm
said,
just
look, Brian.
reiterating.
Brian said he's against giving quotes to the media. I welcome him on. We'll do a crowdsource questions.
We'll
It'll
give him
be
a
nice.
fair. We'll give him a fair shot. We'll be tough on him, but we'll give him a fair shot.
Yeah. A few other charts. So BTC, CME futures and options. There's a bunch of expiries on the 29th, which is coming up in a week. There's generally a lot of volatility around these rollover periods. So something to watch. Like if we can survive the 29th without rolling over completely to 7K, like I think we'll be positioned pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody wants 7K, and I don't know, man. I think that's a good time frame. Like if it survives end of month without giving this, a more significant dip. Dips are for buying. Dips are for buying in either circumstance, but I feel like if I'm short and BTC just lingers here, it just gives me more and more evidence that it wants to sweep 10.2, which is the level I've wanted it to sweep this whole time, and it's just refused to do so. But the dips haven't been super significant either. Like even the ones where, people who went short are like celebrating. It's like $400 or something. It's like, and it gets bought up. Like the wicks on them have been pretty extreme. Like I was looking at, I think I tweeted out even. I was like, I think BTC wants to chill here. Just looking at the low time frames, and sure, it was $600 move, but it was at 8,800 for like half a minute, and then, an hour later, it's back above 9K. So it recovered a third of the dip, and it's like, I don't know. That's a tough direction for me to be right now.
I thought it was interesting. It's Bitcoin Pizza Day today, I think.
Woohoo!
But I thought it was interesting that when those 50 coins moved from the early mining,
the Patoshi line.
Yes, Patoshi. I wasn't going to use that phrase because I figured 5 people would understand what the hell that is.
Well,
not that I even do, but
I didn't know what it was, and then like everyone on Twitter was like, "Oh yeah, it's just the Patoshi line." You just looked this up,
right? So price reacted to that, at least seemingly, very quickly. So I feel like there's some people trying to take advantage of that. Some whale who's like, trying to incite a panic or something.
But if moving 10-year-old coins, even if it's only 50 of them, like if that didn't really affect the market too strongly, then I feel like there's some strength in this market.
I guess, like at the same time, it's only 50 coins. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's indicative of their ability to move however many other coins are in that Patoshi line or batch, which was a lot.
Yeah, but move them all, keep moving them.
Maybe they just have some expenses, they're still hodling, but they got to spend money every now and then.
I don't know. I think it's a silly reason to dump, unless it's 5K coins. Then there's an interesting, like this Mt. Gox story, which continues to just get shelved month over month. Eventually, those coins are going to get released, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know anything about what Mt.
Right,
Gox is
but
doing.
so what these companies are doing, I forget who, if it's Fortress or Citadel, or I forget the VC, I don't know. They're buying the coins on the cheap. So a concentrated power is going to have the coins when they get released. I doubt they will dump them, immediately, but you never know. So that's something to consider. That was supposed to be at the beginning of this year, if not middle of last year, and just didn't happen as far as those claims getting paid out.
Certainly worth watching.
They also have all the Bitcoin fork stuff, also paying attention to Bitcoin Cash, that sort of thing. This was the inverted head and shoulders that I still think is a possibility if we get our 7K dip.
If you get the dip,
That's what I'd be looking for. If we, don't break 10-2.
I mean, there's some great traders that are bearish right now that I respect and pay attention to. I'm just not. I'm not sold yet.
I just think patience is where it's at, like you said.
Yeah, there's this triangle thing that is forming that basically says you got to make a new low below 8,800 to invalidate that. Our buddy Johnny Moe has been talking about that one, and I think that was a good look. I think Ant on Twitter, forget his whole handle, but you know who I'm talking about. He was looking at that too. Like, he was initially looking for something below 8K, and then he highlighted a moving average that he liked, and then also this drawing that, higher low, potential just continued consolidation. So he just essentially said, hey, I'm just adjusting my dip expectations based on what I saw here. And I think that might have been it. And I think it might have been. I think you need to be prepared for that. I think we're still in consolidation. We haven't really fully broken down from consolidation. And I think it'd be really easy to get trapped. Kind of
on either side.
Yeah, on either side right now. Like, I can understand both positions.
Not only are you trapped, but you're eating fees,
yeah, especially if you're against funding.
If you're long volatility, if you are holding a leverage position that goes nowhere, that's
right.
Eating fees.
Right.
This is the 50 and the 200. Both BTC and ETH have their golden crosses. So on technicals, definitely bullish. I still think we retest the 200 eventually for both of these,
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I'm not convinced it's right now.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be right now. But it's got to be eventually. If this thing if it's not like this power move like it was last year, if it's one of these multi-month trends, it's got to touch it eventually, right?
Yeah, for sure. All right, what other price stuff do you got for me? Because then I want to dig into something I've been researching a little bit lately. Once you're done.
Okay, so we were talking about Bitcoin dominance, which really hasn't done anything. It lost a little bit of steam, but I don't really take this to heart in general. Just another one of these things to look at, to pay attention to. It's kind of just it's above the 200.
It's kind of in no man's land, but I'm still looking at alts individually right now.
Yeah, this is concerning still for ETH longs. Notional is at 357 million, all-time high. So if you're on the long side of that, it's definitely a crowded trade.
That's just Bitfinex.
But on the other side of that coin,
the chart looks good.
Just like silver, this is ETH on the weekly. It's got this edge to edge set up to 750. So
yeah,
in 6 to 12 to 18 months, I expect that completely.
Did you see this story going around? I retweeted one of them where they were talking about the ETH 2.0 algorithm and the way that staking works, where issuance, there's at least a possibility that issuance could start to become negative over time because of the way the adjusted fee structure works. So
I trust the Ethereum people so little that I try not to pay attention to anything until it's final. So no, I didn't read that.
It was interesting. Like immediately in the replies, somebody was talking about why they didn't know that was going to be true. But there's at least a circumstance where I guess there's a built-in burn mechanism to the fees. So if the network is being used, you could be burning enough Ethereum to counteract the issuance. And it's some combination, magical triangle between the fee management, the number of coins being staked, and the resulting issuance due to various factors. And I always thought Ethereum was like super inflationary, so it seems like there's at least a mechanism that it could end up being a little less inflationary than you would anticipate, which gives me at least some optimism, if that's true, that these kind of $750, $1,000 plus targets are possible again outside of like a super hype cycle around ICOs and all that crap that drove ETH so high.
I agree, but then they could just change it in the next hard fork, like they did in January. So until I see it on chain evidence as far as what the inflation is, who knows what it's going to be? They don't know what it's going to be.
Sure, so that's fair. Speculators going to speculate though.
Yeah, but I agree with you. That would be bullish if it was a negative issuance, constantly burning for sure, like a BNB style, right? Constantly burning. It wouldn't be like BNB. BNB is a quarterly burn, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Just looking at Stellar again real quick. This is a 2-day cloud. It's been below the 2-day cloud for 2 years, and it's finally popping above the 2-day cloud. So I think that's bullish for Stellar.
What are we calling these patterns? Because we've shown these before. Do you just consider it like a complex head and shoulders?
Yeah, that's what I'd say. It's
and so for it's people like listening, it's like it's like a like a broad shovel scoop. Like a
this is the gold pattern, right? This is the multi-month gold pattern. Same thing.
It's really long and broad type of head and shoulders thing where if it can make that higher low on the right side, but it's really broad, like significant accumulation type of breakout. I really like these patterns once they start to break up, but they can just last for a really long time.
Yeah, definitely. Doge, still watching Doge.
Me too, man. I'm you got me looking at Doge like all the time now. I always want to know, is it above 30 yet? Because I feel like Doge's mission from whatever 32 to 52 is going to be a quick one.
I agree. I've got on my Bitcoin Checker mobile app. I have 4 things: ETH, BTC, Stellar, and Doge. those are what I'm watching right now.
Yeah, I feel like your risk reward on Doge, if you can buy just the bottom side of the consolidation, like 26 or 27 sats, then it's a pretty well protected play.
I don't want to say free money. I don't want to,
Yeah. It can always, like it did in late 2017 as Bitcoin was mooning, it bled off on the BTC pair. But even if it does that, I feel like it's just a spring for Doge's moon. Like there is only glory for Doge.
There's 3 things. I'm already messing up the saying. Death, taxes, and Doge moon. Doge at 100 sats is a better combination. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm watching that, and then the last one I thought was interesting was Tezos BTC bounced on essentially the previous all-time high zone.
Yeah, this is in a higher low too, and looks like it might set up a long-term pennant.
Yeah.
This is indicative of what we were talking about. Like it looked like crap. It looked like it was ready to go make a new low, but it didn't. And
this was the falling wedge. Did we talk about that? I feel like we did, but maybe not.
We did back then because I was watching it closely back then.
Yeah.
It's like Tezos is one of those, but since November 2019, like that low in the middle of your chart there, when it was consolidating, when it was a piece of trash, like I played the first 2 big swings, and then I just have kind of ignored it, which has for the most part been a good move because it's been not made new highs at least. It continues to show strength though, and Tezos is a good example amongst several alts that look like they were on the brink, but they saved it basically. And now once again, and we'll sound dumb by like a week from now because they'll have rolled over or something, but I feel like if you can catch these as they flip that bias, like what I showed with Ethereum before, is it looked like it was about to roll off and break down. I got out of Ethereum, but then it recovered it. So that's a classic case of, well, you can get in from higher. It's no big deal. Like there's still a trade there. It told me to get out. I got out. and now it's telling me to get back in. And I think Tezos is actually really similar, telling you that it's okay to venture back in here, and unless it makes a lower low.
Yeah. And I just did an article for VNC on Tezos, so check that out. But more than 80% is being staked on Tezos now of the circulating supply,
Yeah.
and more than 20% of the circulating supply is being staked on exchanges.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
For sure. And the exchanges are really participating in these staking networks for their own sake and the sake of their customers, giving them
They take a cut, right? They're the middleman.
Yeah, there's a commission built in. So this gets me into what I wanted to talk about, because I've been doing a lot of research on another staking network. And we can dig into it, but I think we've talked about Atom before. So this is Cosmos. Are you familiar with Cosmos?
Didn't I own some at some point?
I don't know. You probably
Or
do.
I probably still do. I got to pull up my BNC Pro.
Is it in your? Yeah, pull that up. And meanwhile, so this similarly looks like on a path to recovery price wise. Like, I really love these 20-day breakups that I'm showing right here, right up against the prior low that it broke down from. So essentially, if it flips this level between the 20-day and the prior breakdown level, then I'm looking at a move up to the 200-day moving average relative to BTC. So I like this from a potential trade setup, but I was also looking up this project. It's by Tendermint, and there's this Tendermint SDK, the Cosmos SDK by Tendermint. And so the Binance DEX is built on it, and several other things are built on it. And I actually launched a full node, and I am a validator for an altcoin right now.
Full community member, folks. Never thought I'd see it.
Well, it was a good learning experience, because you got to spin up a server, you got to run some code and whatever. But all of it is essentially based on this Cosmos SDK, and I think this is one of the more interesting like software protocols where like they're getting real usage in terms of at least other blockchains and projects that are diving into this. But built into this SDK, you can build in staking and governance mechanisms, so people could submit proposals and several other features that they like have out of the box. So it's kind of a blockchain in a box thing. And for proof of stake, it's like very straightforward. It's very simple. It's got this delegation concept. So like, say I'm a validator on this blockchain, and you can then delegate your tokens to me, maintain your custody, similar to what people would recognize for like Tezos baking. But essentially, this allows you to put that into any blockchain. And I think in this ecosystem that you and I have talked about some, with like the prevalence of staking networks and people having this desire to participate in the networks from a staking perspective for earning interest, but also for voting and other things like that. I've been pretty impressed. I have no stake in Atom. I may get one, but the other thing that I've heard about this, like relative to Ethereum, is it's one of the better candidates in terms of being significantly more capable from a scalability perspective, because they built in some of the Ethereum lessons learned or whatever. So yeah, it's been really interesting, and it seems like there's several other projects that are like looking for some of these same features that we've seen in Tezos or whatever, but they're extendable through this Tendermint company that's behind Cosmos, aka Atom, and the SDK that they built. And it's been an interesting experience for me.
Isn't it the ZRX problem though? Like, how does the token accrue value, and they don't need a token for that, right?
I have no idea in terms of where the value play comes from Atom itself. I only know in terms of the token that built on this. So this is, the exact scenario. Like, somebody could go build a DEX that can use ZRX. They don't need ZRX.
Right. And they can just fork Cosmos, can't they?
I think this is better set up to where you're using Cosmos. Like, is
Okay.
still their own token, like an ERC20 is for Ethereum,
Mm-hmm.
except for it's their own mainnet. It's not like a side chain of Atom. So I don't really know what capacity the Atom token plays in all this. This is not me pimping it in that way. It's more
You're just a community member. You're not
I'm just
an
community
investor.
I'm just community membering in this ecosystem. I really wanted to dig into this whole staking landscape and all that, and figure out, like, I've kind of been I've kind of been scolding myself because I come from a land of software and stuff like that. And in crypto, I've not really cared at all about the software. I mostly looked at things from an investment perspective, and I wanted to see, like, okay, give me a hyped up, like, what do people like? What are people talking about being innovative? And let me figure out why it's interesting. And I at least can concur. If you can imagine scenarios with blockchain applications, I can imagine that this has truly made it simpler to do so, like to achieve some of these things. The question is there a is there a blockchain application that fits? But yeah, and I combine that with saying, like, dang, that's pretty neat. Let's go look at the Atom price, and I like this is right up my alley of knife catch. Like the first high or low type of deal.
Poor trading decision making. Buying the weakness.
But I'm buying the flip of the weakness.
This is somebody who's holding it and is down 30% from
You're-
the purchase.
You're down 30%.
Yeah, so I must have bought it in December. I don't know when I bought this, but it's in my portfolio.
Let's see.
December 2019 must have been. Anyway, because I'm staking it on Binance US as well, so
Yeah.
it's a long-term hold.
Well, so that
was the criteria for the portfolio.
Yeah.
If you don't know anything about my altcoin portfolio, I started in December 2019 because alts looked like they were on their deathbed, and that's usually a good time to buy.
And at the time, Atom was actually showing significant relative strength because it was just riding its 20-day constantly. You bought the top.
Yeah, looks like it did, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So yeah, that's still holding. I have no plans to get rid of it at any point, really. And
this just looks like it has. You remember those ZRX swings? Just like pretty.
Oh, don't we all?
Don't we all? You and I, especially. Here, you know what? We can just click right over. These aren't perfect because this isn't Polo, so it's just like Polo was kind of the rectification of ZRX. Do you have the Polo chart handy?
Of ZRX?
Yeah.
USD or BTC?
BTC. If not, I can probably find it.
ZRX broke my my level the other day. Broke 33 cents. Yeah, that's it. What are we looking at?
Oh, you've got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just look at those lifetime swings, no, I'm still look. You've still got Tezos pulled up on the Zoom call.
That's false. Short Zoom. It's not working.
Short Zoom is broken. It's fine. I got it pulled up over here.
Okay. I actually can't even see your screen. Speaking of more reasons to short Zoom.
Freaking Zoom. Well, that's okay. I think the audience can see my screen. All right. So if we go to the weekly ZRX, I know everyone's so enthralled by this.
Coming off of your Atom talk, I mean, how could they not be?
And now, of course, I'm struggling to like pull it up. But it just had in 2017, it went down until December, and then it had two of the best, like, gigantic multi-week up moves on a weekly basis that you could just like play like any kind of trend following strategy, and it just had several nice swings until the exit pump in October 2018, and then death ever since. And it's actually, unfortunately, due to some Tika thing, it looks like it's that's may have been the cause of the pump, but it looks good again for the first time, Tika pump or not.
Yeah, maybe I'll wait till it cools off a bit, but it looks Atom and Evie, doesn't it?
It does, and that's the weekly looks like it hasn't fully cooled off yet, but the daily looks like it's right on the kind of bullish retest zone. And the Adam and Eve on that daily looks much clearer to me.
So the weird thing about ZRX now is you stake with the ZRX, but you get paid out in ETH.
Really?
Yeah. So it's dependent on people using ZRX dexes, relayers, as far as the fees you get. It's kind of interesting.
I haven't done any kind of fundamental research into ZRX in a while.
It kind of makes me like the chart paired with the staking mechanism kind of makes me want to jump in. Do you see the ZRX tracker I just pulled up?
No, because your camera is stuck.
Short zoom.
Short zoom.
It's sharing the screen. It should be.
Yeah.
Anyway, ZRX trades by volume, trades by number. They're both way above historic highs. So people are definitely using dexes and relayers. So that's good if you're a ZRX staker. But yeah, the chart looks.
I stopped your share.
Okay.
And
chart looks decent.
I also just showed everyone my Zoom URL.
Short zoom. Short to the ground.
So if y'all hop on that sometime, I'll probably be in a meeting and I'll be upset. I'll have to blank this part of the video out.
Yeah, you'll have to edit it a little bit. Anyway, so yeah, if you're into staking, speaking of the staking conversation, that's an interesting play because even if you lose value in the ZRX, theoretically you could end up net positive with the ETH rewards, staking rewards,
Yeah. And once again, Link and XTZ look like they're basically the same coin, the way that they're trending.
Yeah.
All of these altcoins look like they broke kind of the same levels. Like I'm just looking at these breaches above the 20-day for every single one of them. Even Litecoin is breaking above its 20-day moving average today.
I just did an article on Litecoin, and man, those technicals look real bad.
So bad. Like it is so bad.
EOS too. EOS and LTC are very close as far as correlations, just like Tezos and Link.
I feel like whatever up move Litecoin has is just a bearish retest before more death.
I agree. But Block One just had another lawsuit against them.
What for?
Same type of thing, selling to American investors, promising stuff, security related things.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Do you have any temptation to get back into Zcash?
What does it look like?
It looks
CRX
like
chart.
Kind of the bottom end of the range.
It's getting me hot and bothered right now. I'm not gonna lie. I gotta figure out how easy this.
Zcash today broke above its 200-day SMA, and it just looks like it's breaking through the bottom of the range, prior accumulation range, maybe another run for like 0.006, 0.007. I'm just saying, if Ethereum follows that trade idea that I was talking about, and even if it breaks bullishly out of that consolidation, like we could have a little bit of an alts run here.
No, I don't buy Zeke below the 200 when it's not in despair territory.
It's above the 200 SMA.
Yeah, well,
you can't see my screen apparently.
Why would you use an SMA when there's an EMA? That's silly, man.
Long-term battle lines here. I need to get
silly man.
I need to get Winthorpe to do a performance test of SMA versus EMA. Well, it's above the SMA. Zcash looks good to me.
Silly man.
I just don't see the upside necessarily. Like, I feel like Zcash is one of those where people love to fade it. Naturally, it works.
Well, the interesting thing is they have their shift in block reward for the team. I'm blanking on all the words that make sense here, but
the founder.
Yeah, the founder's reward is changing slightly, but let me just pitchfork this. So I don't think it's going to be any better. Is my TLDR there?
Okay. Uh, well,
So yeah, the upside, no, it's not for me.
what is Binance Jersey?
That's another exchange, right?
No, they're Binance Exchange.
Yeah. Just trying to pitchfork. You can't see this, but yeah, I don't know. It's still in a downtrend. Like, I'm not going to touch it.
I'm just saying, if I got so I've
You and
got
your just sayings, man.
I'm sorry.
It's
Uh, there's a Trend Spider watch list feature where you can go to like
going to name drop that.
go to letterstats.com/trendspider and sign up.
Right. Okay.
That's what I use for my charting.
Gotcha.
And it's what's on the video.
Hmm.
How about that? There's
How
a
about
name
that?
drop for you. But when I pulled up the Coinbase tickers, everything's green today. Absolutely everything is green.
On the USD side?
Yeah, USD, BTC. Well, Coinbase doesn't have a lot of BTC pairs, but the ones that they have are green. Even XRP, which looks as bad as Litecoin, worse than Litecoin, but it's green today.
I think to bookend this, I'll go on record saying I don't use Coinbase anymore. So Brian, he can come on and tell us why we should.
Yeah, tell us why we should get back in.
Yeah.
And your favorite XLM, which you were just talking about, it was supported by the 200-day moving average. I'll have you know.
Look at that.
The 200-day SMA.
What a champ. Why do you got to ruin the narrative?
I mean, that was a hard floor. 200-day SMA. I don't know if you can see my screen. Short zoom.
Short zoom.
I mean, is this just a bearish retest of all markets? Like, are we about to get absolutely owned?
I don't think so. I think if the high caps consolidate, the small caps move up a little bit, right?
Yeah. I mean, BTC definitely looks like it could just be a bearish retest before it gets that broader move down, which would pull everything down. But if it doesn't, then we're just getting started on some of this altcoin upside.
I don't have an edge on high caps right now, other than putting bids at 7,900 and 175 for ETH. I'm not touching a leverage position.
So, are you interested in the smaller caps, lower caps?
I'm interested in ZRX for sure. Looking at that chart,
I got you hot for ZRX.
Did
ZRX USD or ZRX BTC? You're looking at the BTC one, right?
But everyone had the Adam and Eve on it. I think it
was BTC.
Yeah.
It does. It looks good. And that Tika scammer guy thinks so too. Except he sold his position, and that's what caused it to dump.
Of course. But, when I started the portfolio, I said, I'm going to set aside $1,000 for ZRX when it breaks 34 cents or whatever. The alert was 33 cents. So, I'm just following through with my vision.
Your vision. Carpe Noctem vision.
That's right.
Good. Hey, what else do you have?
I think that's it, right?
Is that it?
I feel like I talked a lot this episode.
Was there... I mean, I can't think of anything else interesting happening.
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff towards the end of the year that's happening. Like Cardano has a mainnet coming, allegedly. Kin, the token for... Is Kin the token? I forget, the messaging network.
Oh,
Ted Livingston. It's migrating from Stellar to Solana.
Didn't Kin get in trouble with the SEC?
They did. Solana is the chain backed by Bram Cohen, I think, he's the guy behind BitTorrent. So, yeah, the cocktail circuit is hot on people migrating chains, apparently. But yeah,
give me the chain migrations, baby.
I want to see chain mergers. That's what I want to see. I'm excited for
that. In non-news news, the block is reporting that Ponzi's and marketing schemes are among the biggest gas guzzlers on Ethereum right now.
That has always been the case, though. I was extremely early on calling that stuff out. I've called that out a year or more ago. Anyway, I'm not looking for credit. I'm just saying this is a known thing, and it continues to be the case.
Oh, here's another one. We talked about FTX US, and I still want to get Sam on here. I went and peeped at it today though, and the book looks good. The order book looks like there's some depth, maybe some slippage, but you could go buy any reasonable amounts of Bitcoin for a retail investor and be absorbed on a market order. But the actual trades, there were like 5 or 6 trades all day, and they were all like 0.05 BTC or less. So at least in the initial launch, they're not doing what it takes to get people over there.
Just use the Cash App. It's like Binance US. They have like 50 pairs, and they're all illiquid.
But
What's the point?
I'm not talking about it from that perspective. The point is for the margin side of things, if you want to take a margin position. But you have to go and you basically have to market order anything you want to do.
But go to Kraken if you're in the US and you want margin, right?
Well, I'm saying this would be competitive to Kraken. I want competition. I mean,
let's be real here. Kraken's UI needs a complete overhaul.
Kraken has a good UI for their futures product. They just don't have it for their American acceptable product, whatever that crypto watch.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah. People talk about the American market, like they act like the American market is nothing, and I don't understand. Maybe it's just the fact that it's still so easy to trade on unregulated exchanges, but it's just strange to me that FTX US is getting very little liquidity out of the gate. Kraken doesn't seem to prioritize their American customers. It's disappointing, Josh. I'm just saying, I'm disappointed.
All right, I share in that disappointment.
We'll try to get Sam on the show. I talked to Sam and he agreed to come on, but then we kind of lost.
We're gonna get Sam on. We're gonna get Brian Armstrong.
That's right.
We're gonna get CZ on
it's
here.
It's gonna be the battle of exchange executives. They're gonna come on here. We're gonna put them to the test.
That's right. A hot seat.
No promises on that though. We're pretty lazy.
What do you mean? I just promised it. What do you mean?
That requires us doing some work.
Well, I did reach out to Tagame like months ago, and they had never responded.
So, jerks.
They can rot into hell.
That's right. It's like, don't you want people talking about your stuff, whoever they were?
Seriously.
All right, let's leave it there, Josh. People can go to twitter.com/carpenoctem to follow you and what you're doing and check your articles out on Brave New Coin. And y'all can go to ledgerstatus.com and check out this episode and more. Catch the video version if you like, etc., etc. We
didn't talk about one more thing though.
Oh,
Rogan moving to Spotify.
Oh, such an important topic.
Quick thoughts. Podcast about podcasts.
I don't like these walled gardens where you're forced to go download Spotify to enjoy a podcast. I like the open ecosystem. So screw him and screw them. What are your thoughts?
He's getting paid, so I can't.
Oh, I'm not blaming him.
Can't exactly.
It annoys me as a consumer.
It annoys me as well.
I don't even watch his show or listen to his show, but it still annoys me.
I just watch it on YouTube if I do tune in. But
yeah, the clips and stuff when they pop on.
Yeah.
There's some people you just can't avoid on YouTube, so every now and then I'll see a clip too.
Yeah.
All right, see y'all later. This episode of Joe Rogan commentary.
In the blink of an eye, the easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight.